November 26, 2016. It is indeed that time of year. Yesterday was Black Friday, in which the masses go out to the stores for this incredible chaos that we know as the official start of the Christmas season. I got my fill of Black Friday years ago when I was in the retail business. I worked for a very large retail chain. You would know the name. There's one in your town. There might be a couple in your town. And I learned to absolutely despise Black Friday during those years. I didn't work them all for the 5.5 years that I was there, because part of the time I was working in the back in the stockroom area doing receiving, but I did have the great displeasure of working on the sales floor a time or two. And back in those days, I thought it was bad enough back then, because we'd go open at 5 o'clock in the morning the day after Thanksgiving, and people would start pouring in. And I thought it was bad then, but it's got a lot worse since then, as you have stores that open much earlier than that, some at midnight, some Thanksgiving Day of all times, and some even days before that to begin their Black Friday, Black Weekend experience. They have often referred to the months October through December as the golden quarter, because that's when they go into the black and make a lot of their money. And you see all kinds of ridiculous behavior, and in a lot of cases really bad things happening as these mobs go out and essentially invade the stores like an unorganized army. I'll never forget the Black Fridays that I was forced to work. It would go off like this. We'd have to go to bed early Thanksgiving night, unfortunately, and then we'd show up about 5 o'clock in the morning, and the usual assortment of cars would start to pour into the parking lot. And when the doors opened around 6 o'clock or so, the store was immediately flooded. I was in a job where I had to do a lot of customer service as far as locating merchandise, pulling layaways, helping the public, and I didn't really have enough help. I was sort of the main hands-on customer service person in that store. And I'd spend the entire day running to and fro to try to serve these maddening crowds, pulling merchandise all over the place. And it was really a bad situation when I had to go pull laid away bicycles, because they hung from the ceiling in this stock room, and you have to push this great big ladder through there, and then while you're holding on to the ladder to keep from falling, you have to reach up and pull these heavy bicycles down and then carry them and then work your way through the crowd. It would take a long time. It was a complicated business. And I pulled one for a customer one time, and he said, and this was in Alabama. It was in Attala, Alabama, about an hour north of Birmingham. The customer said, "Did you have to go to Birmingham to get it?" And I simply said, "Yes." And that was the end of that. But I would literally have to run myself to death all day long. And you'd have various things that went on. There were shoplifting incidents, some people that came in to steal, and then there'd be running out of products, and then there'd be disputes over products, and the customer service desk overloaded with people with various complaints. Nobody can just do their business and go home. Everybody has to have some kind of flaky problem. And then you got people writing checks and issues with that, and cards and issues with that. And it was just a horrible mess. So during those years, I learned to really dislike Black Friday. I'm not somebody who likes to go shopping per se. Now, if it's a matter of purchasing clothing or something like that, well, then obviously you got to go get the right color, the right fit, the correct style, and try them on and all that stuff. But normally, unless it's something like that I've got to be peculiar about, I tend to go buying rather than shopping. And when I go buying, I don't like to stand in line all day. I like to get into the store and get out, because shopping trips, going to the store, that for me is not a social occasion. It's something I do because I have to do it, and I want to do it and get home. And that's pretty complicated on Black Friday. I remember we had a store across town, and we heard about this fight that broke out in the store across town over a parking space, and there were police involved and all that sort of thing. And I don't think we saw any actual fights. There were some shoplifting incidents and things like that, but a lot of crazy things went on. I was working one day, and maybe getting in shopping carts or something like that, and Stanley Maroney, who was also there helping me that day, runs in all of a sudden and says, "Go help that guy, car's on fire." And so I yelled to the surface, "Just call the fire department." And I run out here, but before I could get there, by the time I got done summoning the fire department, Stanley had already run out there with a fire extinguisher and put the fire out. And so we actually had a fire. And it was just horrible to be in the midst of this crowd of frenzied shoppers. So in the years since, I've decided not to participate in the Black Friday tradition. You know, a lot of these doorbusters, these good bargains that you hear about, you know what they actually are? They are lures to get people in the store so that they will buy more. Now, I don't doubt that you can get some good deals on merchandise on that particular day, but they want you to do more than that. They want you to do all your shopping in their store, and these good deals are what they use to get you in the store. You ever heard the term loss leader? You know what a loss leader is? Well, they know they're going to take a loss on that product, but it's a magnet. It's a lure to get you into the store, and boy, did people come out. And one of the big problems with Black Friday is these trendy items. That's the biggest problem. There are certain items that are going to be in demand, and there's going to be a limited supply, and so people get out, and you have all this conflict and chaos and a huge crowd, and every time you get called for customer service, you're having to weave your way through the crowd. You can never get there fast enough. They're calling and calling over the PA, and it's just a disaster. And so I said some years ago, why bother with all this? Because, you know, you can shop in a store all year long. If you can't get particular gifts on Black Friday, you can always do that at a different time during the year. I myself don't participate in Black Friday, and I know a lot of other people who don't either. What I started doing, and this was in Alabama many years ago, was when I get the day off on Black Friday, instead of going anywhere near shopping, I'd take the car up to the top of a mountain known as Chandler Mountain. There's this quiet little area where there's a sort of a, it's not makeshift, it actually is a permanent structure, but it's a sort of rudimentary chapel that's exposed to the outer air, and it's on top of a mountain, and you can look down and see this beautiful, peaceful valley out in front of you. And so I'd go up there and take lunch up there and spend some time up there in peace and serenity. And that's what I did this year. This year it was a hike through the desert, the Coronado National Forest specifically, and it was so peaceful out there. And I think, you know, why the hell do people go through this? You know, I heard the other day that $27 billion was going to be spent this weekend, and that 75% of all Americans were going to get into the Black Friday crush. Now think about this. If 75% of the people are doing something, does that sound like a good idea to you? It doesn't to me. So what I and my crowd do is holiday shopping, we simply do it at other times, before or afterward. If it's later in the season, we're out looking for those deep discounts. Really like those deep discounts. But I don't like spending a lot of time in the stores anyway. And so my tradition now is to get out and get away from it all, and get as far away from the shopping craze as I can possibly get, and not have to go through all that mess. I like to opt for peace and tranquility. And so this time it was a long hike out into the desert in the Coronado National Forest. You know, instead of all this madness, you just go out and commune with nature for a while. There are so many things that people could do on Black Friday weekend instead of all this shopping mess. You know, sometimes I like to play poker all day. It's a good day if you got the day off just to have poker games, play cards all day. That's a good thing you can do. You can go out and be with nature like I did this year. It's a great time to go out, get outside, and experience the wonder of nature that is this beautiful time of year. So I like to do that sometime. You can go to the movies, and that's not nearly as bad as going shopping, especially if you can find a multiplex cinema that is sort of standalone and away from the shopping malls. But even at shopping malls, the cinemas are not usually that bad on Black Friday. You can have social events at your home or at someone else's home. You can get together and do all kinds of things. You can watch movies all day. You can play games all day. If you're into college football, there's plenty of that on Black Friday weekend. All sorts of games, not really bowl games, but they have things called Egg Bowl, Iron Bowl, all that kind of thing that weekend. And a lot of times those are on national television. But it's just a great time, instead of getting in all this mess, to go spend time with the people you care about. Family, friends, and others. And if you got a birthday on Black Friday or somewhere in that neighborhood, like one good Facebook friend of mine does, then you can just concentrate on celebrating your birthday that day. And that's a great way to spend time instead of the Black Friday rush, I think. So my attitude with regard to Black Friday is just don't do it. You know, if they're making a lot of money on particular products, those products will come again around a little bit later in the year, January or some other time. You can always do other things. I myself and others are not really into this trendy stuff anyway so much. We don't necessarily follow trends, as we do what we want and what we need. Now, if you got to have something that's really trendy, you can always wait till a little bit after the holidays and do that part. So all these bad stories that you see in the news, all this competitive crush, all this frenzied excitement, I don't see any sense in doing all that, because there are so many better ways that I can spend my time, and that's what I choose to do. Retailers don't like to hear this, but I think there are better things to do, myself, I think it, than shopping in the midst of all this chaos on Black Friday. If you're like me, you can get worked up about things. Sure you can. I raise hell about politics and other things, but I'm also a person who likes peace and tranquility and serenity, and that's not necessarily something that you're going to find on Black Friday. So why not just, I mean, there are alternatives to doing this Black Friday thing, so why not do them instead? And enjoy your weekend instead of getting caught up in all the mess. Because, you know, a lot of people have 4 days off. So why not go make the best of it and spend time with people you care about? Get reacquainted with nature. Have some fun with game days or football watching days, you know, poker tournaments, going to the movies, having movie days at home. There's so many other things you can do, and that's what I choose to do. Why don't you think about that as well? Is this Black Friday thing really worth it? I'm not sure that it is. I personally think there are better ways to spend the so-called Black Friday weekend. So if you've been one of those harried shoppers this year and not too happy with that experience, there are other ways to do things. Why not look into them? Thanks, and have a good day.